Welcome to the Mike Miller Show.
Happy Monday, America. And that includes Jessica, but it does not include Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Debbie, Jessica, not had a good 3 days, 4 days now.
She's having a rough time right now.
Having a little bit rough go of it, and it could not be any more apropos. So
although she got hired by the Clinton
in a nanosecond.
Yeah, so I feel like maybe she's not so bad.
Yeah, well, yeah. Right. So we're going to have to get into that. We have a couple of short clips. She just, this morning was special for her. And, you know, I said to you before we came on that the woman has a lot of moxie. And I consider that to be an appropriate term for those of you who know. But I don't know, like I told you, she almost looks embarrassed sometimes, or she just isn't, but... Man, I don't know. But anyway, so we have Debbie, we have Bernie, we have Hillary, we have some Donald Trump. Then we have a couple of weird things at the end. Not weird, but you know how I used to do random stuff. We had something from Slate. We have a Michael Jordan statement. I don't know if you saw that or not. So, excuse me. Huh?
I have not seen that.
We will try to get to that. He speaks out on Black Lives Matter and cops, Blue Lives Matter, and the whole bit. I have terrible allergies today. Yesterday was the Brickyard 400. It was first time I've ever been to a NASCAR race. You ever been to a NASCAR race?
I went to the Daytona 500 on Mike
Miller. Did you tell me that when last time after I had been to the 500?
Yes.
Excuse me. I will try not to do this through the show. Yeah, I'd never been to one. I never cared for NASCAR growing up because I've always been a big open wheel racing guy. Which means Indy cars and Formula One. And I used to live, in quotes, out at the track during the month of May when I was in college and for maybe 10 years thereafter. Back in the day, you know, the Unsers and, gosh. Never mind. Roy Johnny Rutherford, and I could name a million of them. I saw some terrible wrecks and stuff. Tom Sneva, but you know what? And it might just be on this track. By the way, it was mid-90s. I never did see the final temperature. On the track, at one point, the surface temperature was 107 degrees.
Mike Miller Show. And
it was hotter than that in those cars. I, again, have never been a NASCAR fan. I mean, it just, I know more of the drivers now than I ever did. But it's just boring to me compared to IndyCar racing.
I'd have to see an IndyCar race to know the difference. But yeah, I've always found it to be kind of boring.
I'll give you two examples why.
Okay.
The Indy cars go a hell of a lot faster. They're even faster than Formula One cars. And for those of you not in the know, and I would maybe guess you might be there a little bit, the Formula One, F1 is where Ferrari and Mercedes and others showcase, and they're top of the line technology in those engines. There's nothing that sounds like a Formula One car in terms of that real high pitch, top notch technology. But Indy cars are just beasts. They go faster. Now let's go back to Daytona for a minute. You know the whole thing about banking and you know what the short chute is? That's between between the turns, between 1 and 2 and between 3 and between 3 and 4. That's called the short chute. The Daytona Speedway is banked 31 degrees. Okay. Indianapolis is 9 degrees.
Oh wow.
It's not much of a bank. You remember when I said I drove around that thing at about 150 miles an hour 100 years ago?
Yeah, you told me about that.
That was one of the first things that struck me, how banked that track is not. And then the other part was how narrow it is. So you get these bigger, I almost said big ass, but I probably should start out that way. But you get these bigger sprint cars out there, NASCAR. It's the Sprint Series. They are not sprint cars. That's a whole other deal. You get NASCAR out there. The cars are bigger. they don't go as fast,
Welcome.
and
Mike Miller
it's
Show.
boring. I mean, at IMS, at the Motor Speedway, it's maybe not so much at Daytona, although they always just seem to me like it's single file. You know, they go around the track forever, and then when there's a caution or whatever, or sometimes dipping down into a turn, they try to pass each other after drafting.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it is, at least from my experience.
Yeah, IndyCar is a lot more exciting than that. And you know what I was
Welcome
surprised
to the
about? There was
Mike
like
Miller Show.
nobody there.
There wasn't?
I mean, there were people there, but there were whole huge sections of the stands that weren't even open to buy tickets. I mean, huge sections of the stands.
Yeah, that's the exact opposite here. Anytime there's a race here, it's packed.
Yeah, well, Daytona is NASCAR's Indianapolis 500 for Indy cars.
Well, I'm saying
Welcome
like
to
even
the
the
Mike
other
Miller Show.
races around Florida, like they usually fall.
Are they really?
Yeah, it's big here.
Well, yeah, Florida guy. But anyway, so that was that. I don't know what that has to do with allergies, but I thought for a minute I was going to catch on fire. I mean, that's how hot I was.
It is very hot. Every
Yeah, it's very hot. And it still is. And I plan to mow the estate after I
Welcome to the Mike Miller Show.
I'm going to mow the front yard and the side yards, and then I'm going to do the back tomorrow. So for those of you that were not only hanging on the edge of your seat, sitting on the edge of your seat to wait for us to be back on air, but were really wondering when I was going to mow the estate, now you know. Let's talk about DWS. Wow.
Yeah, the gift that keeps on giving.
You know what? I almost want to mix it up. Do you guys have
Welcome to the
DSW
Mike
down there?
Miller Show.
I don't know.
Designer Shoe Warehouse?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, see, I almost want to mix it up with that. She's far more entertaining than Designer Shoe Warehouse.
Yeah.
So the WikiLeaks thing comes out Friday, and Bernie has called. Well, he's not called for her scalp. Well, he has to an extent called for her scalp along the way here and there, but Bernie has charged
Welcome
from
to the
damn
Mike
near the
Miller
beginning
Show.
when the. When did this start? When the schedule was announced for the Democratic debates.
Yes.
Bernie's been calling the whole thing rigged ever since then, or maybe even before. The superdelegates thing, even maybe more so.
Yes.
In fact, even more so, right?
Yes.
So, you know, here's the Democrats. I mean, they're all poised to have this unity convention,
Welcome.
and
to the Mike Miller
WikiLeaks leaks drops a huge bomb on that party on Friday. Almost 20,000 emails conclusively prove, I don't know how many of the 20,000, but more than a few, that Bernie was right. I mean, they were doing their damnedest to, as Bernie said, rig the system.
Yeah, that was the most interesting part of that is you know,
Welcome
they
to
were
the Mike
calling all
Miller
these people
Show.
crazy and conspiracy theorists
Yeah.
and all that stuff, and it turns out to be 100% accurate.
Oh, absolutely. Now, let's throw the disclaimer in there. Whether or not that had any impact on the eventual outcome is arguably no. Okay, I would, other than the superdelegates thing, because momentum builds momentum.
Yeah, I think the super delegates thing is really because they were actually really close.
The call by
Welcome
Sunday
to the Mike Miller
afternoon, the
Show.
crescendo by Sunday afternoon for DWS to step down as a DNC head, it finally took its toll. Her statement reads in part, I relish this. I've hated this woman for, hate's too strong of a word. Severely disliked and disrespected, this political hack. I don't know if that sounded any better. But anyway, her statement in part reads, I love politicians, really on both sides of the aisle when they do this stuff, because they make it always, when they resign from stuff out of disgrace, they try to make it sound like it's positive. So she says, quote, going forward, the best way for me to accomplish those goals is to step down as party chair at the end of the convention. As party chair this week, I will open and close the convention. We have a clip about that in a minute. And I will address our delegates about the stakes involved in this election, not only for Democrats, but for all Americans. We have planned a great and unified convention this week.
Welcome to the Mike Miller Show.
And I hope and expect that the DNC team that has worked so hard to get us to this point will have the strong support of all Democrats in making sure that this is the best convention we've ever had. Well, yeah, no, because it's not starting off like that, does it?
Well, and it's so unified that they had to build a wall to keep out all the people that they don't want in there.
Yeah, and you have Bernie supporters outside wearing T-shirts saying Hillary for prison.
Welcome
and
to the Mike Miller Show.
So that's going on. So Debbie is out at the end of the convention. Now, apparently there was a bit of horse trading going on. I don't think they trade horses in southern Florida, but yeah, where she was then allowed to address the the opening breakfast. By the way, I don't know if she's going to gavel it in and gavel it out. There were reports that she wasn't, and then after she resigned, there were reports that she was, and I haven't heard anything since. But if what happened this morning at the opening breakfast for the Democrat, and let's say Democrat versus Democratic on purpose, if what happened this morning at this breakfast was any indication, tonight's, it's just going to be popcorn time. It would be, if she's really going to open this thing, it's going to be pay-per-view quality. So
I
we have.
so. I don't think they're going to have her do it because I just don't think people are going to.
They would be asinine to have her do it at this point, particularly after the way she was received this morning. But I saw conflicting reports over the weekend, but those were before she actually resigned. But we have a couple of short clips. This first one's like 24 seconds. It's embedded in a tweet, and I understand that you have that up to go. But let's this one is about what she was getting her butt handed to her by these people, and whomever the woman with the gavel was tried to beat them into silence. And when that didn't work, she starts. This is why this woman has moxie. She starts talking about the shooting in Fort Myers, and tries to get them on board with her over that. So let's listen to that short clip first.
Welcome to the Mike Miller Show.
Yeah, that didn't go well.
No, not at all.
No, that was not. That didn't go very well. So now we have a little bit of a longer clip. It's about a minute, and this is just more of the same. I think it's more centric to her microphone. I think the one we just listened to was audio and video from someone in the crowd, which actually it was. But let's just listen to a bit more, just so we can relish it. See, right there's a perfect example of why I said she has moxie. I mean, half of the people in that room wanted to drag her out in the parking lot and whatever, tar and feather. Yeah. But she just acted as if they all were giving her a standing ovation. I mean, it was just, you got to give people like that credit.
Yeah, that was actually impressive. I'm like,
that was extremely impressive.
She did not do the Nancy Shuffle.
No. No, she didn't get. She never got that. You know how Pelosi. That's a good person to bring up. Gets that like deer caught in the headlight look in her face.
Oh yeah, and she's like, "Ooh, I gotta get out of
Oh
here."
no, Debbie was like, she's steely-eyed, looking forward.
Welcome to the Mike Miller Show.
But she has. I mean, she has a long history with this. I mean, she has a lot of practice. You know, she's been turned into a fool for years on talk shows. They catch her lying.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then she's like a pathological liar. She lies to try to cover up her lies,
I mean,
and she
she
knows
is a
people know
politician.
she's lying.
Yes, she is a politician. I mean, that's
Man,
in the handbook.
oh my gosh, her picture's in there. It's that. So anyway, so you got that going on. As I mentioned before we played those clips, she's like, okay, we're all going to sing Kumbaya, and look, let's fast forward and then come back. I mean, Democrats have a history. Not only throughout a campaign, but even sometimes throughout a 4-day convention, of acting like they want to slit each other's, well, that's too strong, drag each other out in the parking lot and tar and feather them. But by the last day, they have this kind of uncanny ability to at least appear to come together, right? So they may do that, but they're not there right now. As I mentioned before we played the clips, Sanders supporters, and we do not have a clip, this is reported by Wall Street Journal, they were chanting in the street, lock her up, wearing Hillary for Prison t-shirts, marching, and really pretty ticked off people.
Yeah, that's what I don't know. I don't think
Welcome to the
anything
Mike
like
Miller
this has
Show.
ever happened before. I don't think
1968
we're
in
gonna let this go.
Chicago, but not since.
Maybe I don't know that far, but yeah.
Yeah, because you weren't even a thought. at
My
that
mom
point.
was like 7.
Okay, thanks. That's
Sorry.
great. Okay. But yeah, so yeah, and look, they were ticked off before, and this WikiLeaks thing coming out has it just has set them on fire.
And Julian Assange is out for blood because like the Hillary campaign was like, oh, we didn't ask for this, we didn't know, and he's like, okay, more emails tomorrow.
And now a report comes out today. By the way, my buddy Justin Green, Independent Journal Reviews, is on fire today doing all of this stuff. But now the FBI is involved. Did you see that?
I did not see that, but I mean, it is
Welcome
criminal. It has
to
to
the
be.
Mike Miller Show.
I mean, not that anything's gonna come of it, but yeah.
Well, this gets to the whole Russian thing. Did you see that?
Yeah, their excuse.
The
for-
suggestion that his support for Trump as a man overrides, but no, why would Vladimir Putin want a Democrat to be president over a pretend Republican? over
To the Mike
a
Miller
Republican.
Show.
I was being
Yeah.
snarky, but so now the FBI is looking into this thing. I think I have a statement here. That actually also, before I get down to that, well, the Clinton campaign brought it up first. I don't know who this was. Well, it was Debbie, I think. This is further evidence the Russian government is trying to influence the outcome of the election.
Welcome to the
Former
Mike
Trump
Miller
advisor
Show.
Michael Caputo said something similar. Sure, we're having fun with the WikiLeaks DNC leak, but this is a provocation by Kremlin, Russia, must be dealt with. I don't know. I've not seen proof of that.
They just are grasping at straws. Like, I mean, even if that was the case, those emails were sent. Like, I mean, they're trying to distract people.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, to your point, Assange is in
Welcome to the
Moscow.
Mike Miller Show.
He wouldn't be able to get that. Well, no, wait, let me take that back, because I don't know where the leak originated in terms of the URL, and it would not have been from there, so completely disregard that. But anyway, the FBI, in a statement today to the Associated Press, quote, the FBI is investigating a cyber intrusion involving the DNC and are working to determine the nature and scope of the matter. Compromise of this nature is something we take very seriously, and the FBI will continue to investigate and hold accountable those who pose
Welcome
a
to the
threat
Mike
to
Miller
cyberspace. But they don't come right out and mention the Russians. So this, you know what, this is just, like I said, this is popcorn time, pay-per-view.
Oh,
I mean,
totally.
they thought they were sailing into this thing. You know, they had Bernie on board after they did that kind of almost tongue kiss when he endorsed her, right?
Yeah.
And this was all going to be just kumbaya. And man, it's not right now. Now, Thursday again, we'll see. But so we have that going on. But again, you got Sanders supporters marching in the street of Philadelphia before the convention kicks off, which was 21 minutes ago, chanting "Lock her up, Bernie or bust," wearing Hillary for prison t-shirts. And some of those people, probably not these in specific, there's going to be Bernie delegates in that hall that feel exactly the same way.
Oh, yeah. I think that's true.
See, I think it's fun, man. I love this stuff.
Oh, no, I think it's hilarious. I think, no, this is great. It's just desserts. I really feel like.
Oh, it is. It is. It's completely just desserts. Speaking of Bernie, I put this up a couple hours ago. So Bernie's been preaching about all this free stuff, right?
To the Mike Miller Show.
Right? I mean, the guy's a self-declared socialist. Been preaching about free college. Did he switch that up? Hillary did, but what do they call it? Non-debt college or something? I don't have that in front of me, but in other words, free. Almost free healthcare. Damn near free or whatever, and there's been government stuff too. But anyway, BuzzFeed reported this morning that this goes back to the first week of June, that a hotel room, let me correct that, a hotel restaurant in L.A., someone found a memo, as it were, a document from the Bernie folks to the Clinton folks. And the discussion was, and precipitous to the document was the kind of thing going in within the Bernie campaign. Should we continue to give Hillary hell, take it to the convention, or should we back her and satisfy the party establishment? Right. So they had that going on. Mm-hmm. And but also in this document were some demands that Bernie had, were he to give it up and support Hillary, endorse Hillary, and then show up in Philly for this unification thing. One of his demands, I found this humorous because we talked about this about Hillary before as it relates to her $250,000, $225,000 speeches that she gave to Wall Street. One of his demands, in order for him to do that, was a fully staffed private jet.
Really?
The socialist.
That is interesting.
Preaching a message of socialism.
He probably, you know what? Part of me makes it, I feel like he wanted it to hurt. But
yeah, I can go with that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can go with that. But I just think it's ironic because Bernie, I've read stories in the past too about him driving around in expensive cars and stuff. I don't know if that's actually true because the several images I've seen of supposedly him, I could not tell whether they were him or not. Yeah. But I just like it. I just because.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting.
Let's see, because I'm going to move away from Bernie before the break. Okay, so this other clip that I sent you, video, Bernie voters hate Hillary.
Yeah.
That thing's almost 5 minutes long. Leave me unmuted and I'll do the old, okay, I think we have it thing. Okay. And where better to find this than Alex Jones's InfoWars. But you guys got to see this. You got to Google it after because, man, the looks on some of these people's faces, they hate Hillary. In fact, I'm just going to say it because I'm looking. The feature image is a woman who looks incensed, and written on what appears to be a blackboard with chalk next to her is "Hillary sucks ass." So these people are not huge fans. Let's listen to a little bit, and I'll tell you when to cut it.
My message is to Hillary Clinton, drop out. You have made a mockery of our democracy.
She's not a progressive candidate, and I don't intend to vote for her in November. I'll be voting for Jill Stein if the Democratic establishment has their way and proceeds with the coronation of Hillary, despite the will of the people being behind Bernie Sanders.
How would you describe Hillary in your own words?
I think I'll go with Donald Trump's on this one. She's crooked.
She's part of the Clinton crime family, and she needs to be put in prison right away. What her and Debbie Wasserman Schultz did to all of the voters in this country is unfathomable. That they haven't put her in jail yet.
Hillary Clinton's followers have no problem, and they have denied election fraud.
Hillary Clinton is in a syndicate that is controlling or attempting to control all of our government, and no one seems to care about it. I care. I'm outraged. I want to defend my right to vote. I don't want government corruption.
She's the picture of corruption.
I mean, you're probably about the 12th person I've interviewed today said the same thing.
Well, I mean, she's been corrupt since '92.
Yeah.
When Bill was elected, and now it's just getting that much worse. I mean, she made what, $21 million from speaking to different banks and Wall Streeters.
Yeah. Well, do you think a lot of those quote speaking fees were kickbacks or deals?
I think anyone who doesn't is naive.
Now listen, Hillary Clinton, I didn't vote for you in '08. I voted for Obama because he wasn't you. You know what? You're a liar. You're a cheat. We don't raise our children to act this way. And you're going to further it. You got super delegates that you bought before the election. I'm in Michigan, Hillary. We uncrowned you, you fracking queen. And I'm going to tell you what, all your super delegates that are standing behind you in Michigan, the finger isn't on them when it comes August and November to vote.
All right,
we're voting
Jessica,
you out. We're going for a new Congress.
Yeah. Fracking, you fracking queen.
I love that. That was my favorite line.
You know what? I'm going to renege on what I said, that by Thursday, the delegates, at least in the hall, will all sing Kumbaya together. There's a lot of people who are very, very ired at Hillary Clinton and the whole Democratic establishment.
Yes. I mean, that's all I've seen all day today on Facebook and everywhere.
So tonight, I mentioned Popcorn Time and pay-per-view quality. We have Bernie to speak, and then the keynote is Pocahontas, Lizzie Warren going to speak.
Oh, that should be interesting.
And these people are these people in the hall, like the ones we just heard outside the hall. A lot of these people, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's got to be above 40 when you look at the way the votes were cast. Well, at least 40 are avid Bernie fans and Lizzie Warren fans. So it's gonna be fun, man.
It's definitely gonna be fun. I can't wait for this. I think it's great.
You know what? And the thing is, I know we're under probably a minute now, but the thing is, when Hillary selected Tim Kaine, she basically signaled, like, I'm not really worried about the left wing of this party. Because
totally. Totally.
Yeah, I don't need those people. We're going to win it anyway. So anyway, we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about Hillary. She's on 60 Minutes yesterday talking about Benghazi. You guys won't believe it. This is the Mike Miller Show. We'll be right back.
Will I be a good man? Will I be true? True to myself, be true to you. The devil is...
Doug, I never thought I could go back to school, but when it's this easy, it fits.
I'm right there with you, Jackie, taking classes, watching lectures in the living room on the iPad. It's not hard.
I can be a mom, make dinner, get my classwork done, and not miss a moment with my family. It's amazing.
Yes, it is.
Hey, it's Jackie Velasquez, and if Doug and I can do this, you can do this too. Higher education with Liberty University Online.
Find out more about completing your college degree at the world's largest Christian university, Liberty University. Get all the details right now. Grab your cell and dial pound 250. When prompted, say the keyword Liberty University.
Training champions for Christ since 1971, Liberty University Online. Find out more about learning online. Dial pound 250, then say the keyword Liberty University.
Liberty University Online with hundreds of degree programs to choose from. Call now, pound 250. Say the keyword Liberty University.
That's pound 250. Say keyword Liberty University.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses...
Mondays in Mike Moore Show. Rumor has it that we may have had server problems for the first 12, 15 minutes. And if we did, we apologize. We might have broken up. But the last 15 minutes was okay, right?
Yes, I'm hoping so. We'll find out. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, I know. So Hillary was on 60 Minutes yesterday with Scott Pelley. Mm-hmm. I love YouTube and Mediaite. For those of you who like to see up-to-minute videos but don't want to go to MSNBC and CNN, although I would rather, and I said this before, I would rather watch CNN these days than Trump News Network. That whole deal, by the way, with Roger Ailes, we're not going to talk about that today, but and Donald Trump's undying support for Roger, that whole thing cracks me up. But at any rate, so yeah, Mediaite and other places, just to go there and get kind of the cream of the crop as it relates to clipped videos of stuff that are just perfect. But so you know what? I don't want to even spoil this, Jessica. Let's go. This is relatively short, a couple of minutes. But Scott Pelley asking Hillary whether she feels some responsibility for Benghazi, and her answer to that question is far less set your hair on fire than what she says after that answer. Let's listen.
What's your responsibility for Benghazi? Did you make any mistakes around that?
Well, Scott, there have been, I think, now 9 separate investigations, and they did not find any such culpability. I took responsibility. I was Secretary of State, and I thought that was appropriate. And what I was determined to do is to find answers as to what actually happened, not what people claim, and what we could do to try to prevent that. That was in the tradition of what has happened in the past. We had horrible losses in Beirut when Ronald Reagan was president. One of my favorite former predecessors, George Shultz, was Secretary of State. We had a Democratic Congress. Politicize it. So when this happened in Benghazi, I immediately stood up an independent committee, distinguished Americans, military and civilian experts. They came out and they said, you know, the ball was dropped in security, and, you know, some of the decisions that were made probably should have been rethought.
But wasn't that your ball to carry?
No, it wasn't. It was not my ball to carry. It was very, read the reports, read all of the reports, all many hundreds of pages of them, including this latest one, which was a political exercise from the very beginning. Those never reached me. Those never came to my attention.
The concerns about the security never came to your attention,
no,
didn't reach you.
The experts, we have security experts. I am not going to substitute my judgment for people who have been in the field, who understand what our men and women are up against. So this has all been investigated over and over again, but as Tim was just saying, it didn't get the result that some of the Republicans wanted, so they kept at it, and I feel very sorry that they have politicized it unlike any prior example, and I just think the most important challenge we face is learning from it and doing everything we can to keep our people safe.
This woman is unconscionable. She could not be any more disingenuous and dishonest if she tried harder. And I know that statement normally says if she tried, but she does try. And she's very good at it. Arguably, she is better at this kind of incensing crap than even her husband was. She feels very sorry that the Republicans politicized it, right? But during the Benghazi hearings in the House, what difference at this point does it make? They're dead. I mean, she didn't add that last part. But this is complete and utter, it's beyond the pale. It was not my ball to carry. She says, I mean, when she starts, She says that 9 separate investigations found, quote, no culpability. But then she says in the same sentence or the one thereafter that she accepted responsibility. So the musical question is, what the hell did you accept responsibility for if you think that 9 separate commissions, investigations found no culpability? That's my first question for you, Hillary. And then the bombshell, this is why I wrote this thing. This is why I wrote this thing this morning, because I was incensed. Scott Pelley, not exactly Sean Hannity or any other conservative. Hannity's a hack, by the way. But having said that, Sean Pelley says, did you drop the ball here? And she says, no, it was not my ball to carry. It was not my ball to carry. We'll get to that in a second. She continues, those being requests for additional security, never came to my attention. We have securities experts. I'm not going to substitute my judgment for people who have been in the field, who understand what our men and women are up against. You know what? Let's go back to the not my ball to carry. Not to quibble with Pantsuit, but I included this link in my article. Her nonsensical and disrespectful assertion that security of the consulate was not her ball to carry. Here's a direct quote from the State Department website, which I linked to in the article. Quote, the Secretary of State and by extension, the Chief of Mission, COM, are responsible for developing and implementing security policies and programs to provide for the protection of all U.S. government personnel, including accompanying dependents, on official duty abroad. This woman is reprehensible to me.
Yeah. I couldn't believe that she went there.
Not my ball to carry. Perhaps, just as you didn't read and or sign the requirement relative to not using personal email servers, you didn't read your own State Department's website. It very clearly says it cannot be read any other way. The hell yes, you were responsible. But you know what? And I included a paragraph about this. Jessica, I'm worked up.
I didn't notice.
Harry Truman on his desk, you know the famous quote, the buck stops here. Mm-hmm. The buck stops here. Not only does she completely dismiss that mantra, and I asked the question, is it not the job of people in positions of power? Think about this. I don't care if it's corporate America, if it's government, if it's any position of power where you're charged with making important and sometimes critical decisions. If you have people that you hire who are experts, who you believe are experts, and that's why you hire them, is it not your job to seek their counsel and then ultimately make a call, particularly when it's something so potentially critical that results in the loss of 4 American lives? How can she say this? That's why, huh?
She's shameless.
She is shameless. And you know why she says it? And she says it so, dare I say, coldly. You know, that line about she's sad or whatever she said. I was so worked up, I don't remember what I said. I mean, how it wasn't my ball. I mean, I'm going to trust the experts. It didn't get all the way up to my level. Who am I to suggest that they're wrong? Nobody suggested that you should suggest they're wrong. You should have been, and I still believe she probably was, you should have been informed and had intelligence reports of Chris Stevens and others' request multiple times for additional security and their concerns about what was going on. And you should have listened to people, and then you should have made the call. Just like Barack Obama didn't listen to his generals in Afghanistan, didn't listen to his generals in Iraq, didn't listen to people in Libya and Syria, and we see what's going on now. We see what's going on. And the notion that people who care about this country and its security can trust in people like Hillary Clinton it's again, I'm a bit hyperbolic today, but it's just incomprehensible to me. This is atrocious. And Of course, were this a Republican, they would be being skewered in the media today and from the liberal media over this notion it was not my ball to carry. We hear crickets.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to come up for air. So, okay. Let's, we got like 17 minutes, whatever left. Let's, because we haven't done a show since last Monday, so we shift to the Trump convention. Did you see any of it?
I saw Ted Cruz's speech.
Yeah, what'd you think of that? In fact, that was what I wanted to ask you specifically. What do you think of Cruz's speech?
Oh, I thought he really shot himself in the foot, honestly, with that whole like vote your conscience thing. But honestly, I think that he did a good job. Like he did a good job, like grinning and bearing it, basically, and showing support, like just walking right up to that line without endorsing Trump. Like,
yeah,
he
just
do it.
First of all, to show up, unlike Kasich. I think we talked about this, didn't we?
Yeah.
But unlike Kasich, unlike Jeb and W, unlike Mitt Romney and McCain, Ted showed up. What's he all showing up as half a, or whatever, 75% of that used to be a mantra in business. But the vote your conscience line, I think he should have left out.
Yeah.
But Ted is playing to Ted supporters, of which I was one, and he's looking forward to 2020.
Yeah, good luck with that one, I feel. I think he totally just ruined it for himself.
You know what? I think kind of a little side note as it relates to 2020. I was listening in the background when I was writing earlier today to Pence speaking. I forget where these guys are. I want to say Roanoke, Virginia, but that's like really random and it doesn't make any difference. But Pence was speaking. He does a little 10-minute, 12-minute kind of stump speech as he's introducing the Trumpster. And I thought to myself, as I have before, because he's our governor here, right? When he was a representative, I followed him. If Donald Trump and Mike Pence were to get into a debate, which is never going to happen, but I like to think about stuff like this anyway, about which of them is the true conservative and why, Mike Pence would completely hand Donald Trump his ass.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I like me some Mike Pence. I just hope he's not. So anyway, so it's about 2020. I'm thinking, okay, he either destroys any future thoughts he may have. And the guy's only 57 years old. He either destroys any future thoughts he may have about running for national office, or he, just for taking one for the team, right? This year, he gained some respect. He goes out there as a trooper and supports Donald Trump. That's presupposing Trump doesn't win in November, and you all know my thoughts on that, particularly when it resorts to the Electoral College. However, let me contradict myself. Uno momento. Is that how you say it?
Un momento. Yeah.
Un momento or
yeah.
uno?
No, uno. Un.
Uno momento, like the game Uno.
Yeah, un, without the O.
Oh, un, see?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was just being a, you know what. So Nate Silver, do you know who he is?
No.
Statistician, guy's well respected. Sports writer, he analyzes like sports, baseball and elections included, which elections arguably are a sport. This is Silver. Let me click on this. Where are we? Okay, so Silver comes out today and says a lot of this is based on sports betting and stuff too, or on betting, kind of like futures in the securities market. But anyway, so Nate says if the based on his research, if the election were held today, Trump has a 57% probability of beating Hillary compared to 42.5. 57.5 to 42.5.
Okay.
Yeah, just somewhat interesting. So, there's always this question of did whomever at their respective convention get a post-convention bounce or not. It appears that Trump has. Now, I would guess that you got to factor into that what we talked about in the first segment, which is the whole WikiLeaks dump and that stuff, and Bernie getting screwed. So that's Nate Silver. I tend to pay a little bit more attention to Real Clear Politics for those of you who hang on these polls, and I do not. But I still find them interesting because first of all, they're a snapshot in time. And secondly, a week is a lifetime in politics. And thirdly, as a bumper sticker says, stuff happens. So anything can happen, can come down between now and November. But so Real Clear Politics today. If you guys are to pay attention to any poll, don't selectively, as Donald does. Of course, the ones that he selectively chooses are usually the non-scientific drudge online polls where people call in, or well, not call in to drudge, but people message that he won the debate. Right, he still swears up and down he won every debate and Cruz lost every debate. But anyway, Real Clear Politics pretty respected because it does an average and then from respected polls. So Real Clear Politics today has statistically even, has Trump plus 0.02%, but CNN, not exactly a conservative bastion, has Trump up by 3. CBS, not a conservative bastion, has Trump up by 1. On the other hand, Economist and YouGov have Clinton up by 5. LA Times, USC, Trump by 4. Gravis, fairly respected poll, Trump by 2. Reuters, Clinton by 4. Rasmussen, who I respect, Trump by 1. And NBC News, Clinton by 1. So, I mean, and again, stuff happens. So we'll see. But it will be interesting to see if Hillary, because she was up by 6 points or thereabouts in the average, week 10 days ago. So we'll see how that all plays out after the convention. And again, it's just fun. It's observational sports to me, and I just I like paying attention to it.
I think it's very interesting, and I already thought this election was going to be kind of close.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be even closer now with all of this leaks and stuff.
Well, you're totally right. And, I've said before, and I think we need to narrow the field now. I've said this quite a bit, that I've compared the football field analogy that you have 45% of the people on either side of the 50-yard line that their respective candidate could set the other candidate's hair on fire and burn their house down, and they would still vote for their candidate, right? That's never going to change. So the race is won in between those 45-yard lines, and arguably it's won between the 47s. You got a 6-point swing there, and it may be it may be closer this time, although as close as it was in terms of popular vote in 2012, when you look at the Electoral College, not so much. So
yeah,
I always try to talk people out of this notion that this is a national election. It is not. It is 50 state elections, and that's what matters. So anyway, interesting. Speaking of interesting, now this is a report, and it's in the New York Times. This is not from National Enquirer, Donald. But report in the New York Times, when this came out late last week, but I still wanted to talk about it. This is old news compared to what's going on with DWS and the whole bit. But according to a report in New York Times, Donald Trump told John Kasich's team, whether he told him directly or Trump's people told, in fact, I know it's Trump's people told Kasich's people, that if, first of all, they offered him a while back the vice presidency. There were kind of rumors of that happening anyway along the way, but that if he accepted, he would be in charge of literally all policy in the Trump White House.
I did hear about this.
Yeah, Trump Jr. is reported by the Times to have made this this statement. It's incredible. According to John Kasich advisor, Donald Trump Jr. offered the VP slot to the Ohio governor, despite his rhetoric on the campaign trail blasting the eventual nominee. His offer was an intriguing one, and I'm reading from Mediaite again. Quote, did he have any interest in being the most powerful vice president in history? Trump Jr. told the Kasich camp that if he accepted, he would be in charge of all domestic and foreign policy. Kasich's advisor was naturally skeptical. What was Trump going to be in charge of then, he asked. And Jr. making America great again.
Okay.
I
don't buy this.
I don't buy it either. When I get to the end of it, at least the way it's written, I don't buy it. Because Donald Trump Jr. appears to me to be a fairly sharp guy.
Yes.
I don't think he would say that.
No, I don't think you would have. Never. Yeah.
So why does this come out? Just bad grapes, sour grapes from the Kasich campaign?
I mean, I don't know. Probably because, you have the people. That's the thing is like both parties are working really hard to eat each other alive or themselves alive. So it could just be the people, like some of the Never Trump people, trying to add some fire to something,
And if so, talk about sour grapes. I mean, talk about, we talked about Cruz and his vote your conscience thing. If this is bogus and it's just floated, shame on them for doing that.
I agree.
Okay, good. All right, let's talk about Michael Jordan a little bit.
Yes, I want to hear about this.
Michael Jordan, there is no audio. I'm not sure. He said this is actually an essay that he wrote for The Undefeated. I don't know what that is. It's published today. Michael Jordan's 53 years old, man. I mean, to you that's no big deal, but I can remember when he came out of college.
Yeah.
You're going, dude, you're old.
I already did this.
Of course you read.
I already did this once. I'm not going to jump down that rabbit hole again.
You're going like, dude, you can remember when Bob Cousy came out of college, and that's really a stretch that probably one person who appreciates the NBA would understand. Anyway, talking about the whole thing, Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter. He said in part, he donated $1 million to this cause too. I'm not sure where it is. Maybe we will find that. Yes, we will. Quote, I was raised by parents who taught me to love and respect people regardless of their race or background. Excuse me. So I'm saddened and frustrated by the divisive rhetoric and racial tensions that seem to be getting worse as of late. I know this country is better than that, and I can no longer stay silent. We need to find solutions that ensure people of color receive fair and equal treatment, and that police officers who put their lives on the line every day to protect us all are respected and supported. Over the past 3 decades, I've seen up close the dedication of law enforcement officers who protect me and my family. I have the greatest respect for their sacrifice and service. I also recognize that many people of color, their experience with law enforcement have been different than mine. I have decided to speak out in the hope that we can come together as Americans and through peaceful dialogue and education achieve constructive change. Just a little bit more. To support that effort, I am making contributions of $1 million each to 2 organizations, the International Association of Chiefs of Police, newly established Institute for Community Police Relations, that's a mouthful, and the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. So Michael Jordan said he can't stay silent anymore. I've always respected Michael Jordan.
I did too.
I mean, when that guy was that guy, there was nobody on the planet, had never been anybody on the planet with his basketball skills.
Arguably there still isn't, but
I don't think so either. Particularly, and it's always hard in sports to compare, different generations, but I still don't think there's ever been a Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And I think he's pretty much spot on here.
I agree with him, yeah.
Yeah. So putting his money where his mouth is.
That's true. I mean, that's there's nothing that speaks more than cold hard cash, I guess.
Yeah, which to him is a drop in the guy's like a billionaire, I think.
I mean, everybody still wants to buy a pair of Jordans. Yeah.
Hey, by the way, speaking of Air Jordans, they just announced yesterday, or maybe the day before, Air Jordan 31 is coming out in September, and it looks pretty awesome. Of course, at my age, no, but so that's all pretty cool. I love that guy. I grew up there, and the Bulls sucked. I mean, really sucked before Jordan came along, and even for a couple, 2-3 years after. I mean, they had such sucky players on the team. They would just stand around and watch him on the floor as they were all supposed to be playing, just like do incredible stuff.
Yeah.
And then they couldn't get past Isaiah Thomas and the Pistons for a while. Then, of course, that happened, and the rest was history. But as we get out of here, I know we're under a minute, Michael Jordan's father was murdered, shot and killed. And that's why he quit basketball for a while.
I remember that. And then, and then he went into baseball. Which
he went to the White Sox, and
was
he was
interesting.
Marginal, but a lot of respect for that dude.
Yeah. He's amazing. I really have always thought that he was an amazing person.
Yep, he is. What's amazing also is that we're the hell out of here. We're under 30 seconds. We will be back Wednesday, probably with a guest. But this is Mike Miller and Jessica Jane. Thanks for listening. Tell your friends. Come back Wednesday. Thanks, guys.